this is not weather for fat people with long hair. Yeah, so do you know, I was just although I'm not starting the Brian Clough book till the back end of the year. I was just chatting to someone from Nottingham, and he was telling me about the time that he was an electrical engineer as a young kid, and he went to work in the City Ground, I think Forest Ground was called, when he was like YTS, 16, 17. And so this was about 92, 90, it was pretty much the end of Cloughie's reign. You know, even then, as great as he was, the journalists knew if you wanted to catch Brian Clough, you had to do it before midday because he'd kind of normally be drunk after that. So this guy was on working at the City Ground for a couple of weeks as a young electrical engineer. And the first thing he was told was, under no circumstances, you must not, I repeat, must not approach Mr. Clough when you see him. And anyway, yeah, that just went for everyone. Just people just were not allowed to talk to him, particularly like the back end, 92, 93. And this guy, he said to me, I seen him one morning, and I just went, "Good morning, Mr. Clough." And the next day, he went into work, and they said, "You've got to leave. You've approached him." Yeah, so he'd been there 18 years at that point, and yeah, that was the strange, unusual, genius, stroke, madman that was Brian Clough. What's very kind of poignant in the story is Barcelona. So Brian Clough from Groveville, Middlesbrough, had 2 European Cups before the mighty Barcelona had one. Let that sink in. Yeah, incredible. He was that good. He went out and won one. 79, or was it 78, 79? And then basically, just to prove how great he was, did it again. So he was the special one before Jose Mourinho came along, 25 years before him. And one of the very last interviews he gave, Cloughie, was he mentioned Jose Mourinho. So Cloughie died 20 years ago this year. Mourinho won the UEFA Cup, beating my beloved Celtic 2003, and then they won the Champions League 2004. And Cloughie said, "He reminds me a lot of myself, that young man." He called everyone young man, but he said I was better looking. So yeah, the great late Mr. Brian Howard Clough. I'm going to be starting a book on him end of the year. Yeah, so what's it about? There's been 9 or 10 books on Cloughie. What's different about this one? So this is a Middlesbrough point of view. It's going to have a lot of humour. Very sadly, my friend John Spencer died at the start of this year, or the end of last year. He had some tremendous Brian Clough stories. He told me. I will have to try and remember them. But yeah, there's been 9 or 10 books on Cloughie. But I wouldn't say this would be the best Brian Clough book out there, but it'll be in the top one. I'm going to have fun. Really, I've got so many tremendous people, lots of famous footballers to speak with. But there's never been a book on a Middlesbrough view, like a Middlesbrough angle. You know, this man went to Martin Grove Primary School. His goal scoring ratio was staggering. Literally, I mean, it's just unfortunate Cloughie was played in the same era as the greatest, Jimmy Greaves. He probably would have, it's astounding to think he only ever got 2 England caps. But and then of course he wasn't. He should have been the manager of England, which I don't really give a shit because I'm a Scotland fan. But yeah, he was the manager. He was the best manager England never had. But they probably wouldn't have been able to control him. Let's be honest. So Middlesbrough's own Brian Clough. I'm going to start it back end of this year. I'm going to release it next year. And BBC have already said they're going to recover it. Yeah, I just don't understand how Captain Cook have schools named after him. He has hospitals named after him. And Brian Clough just has a statue in Albert Park. I just think Middlesbrough Council need to up the game and celebrate this man more than they do. Saying that, they don't do anything about Don Revie as well. And he was from Bell Street, which is kind of, I don't know whether that would be kind of Winniebanks or West Lane area. But yeah, the late, great Brian Clough. I'm obsessed with him. As I said the other week, I'm probably going to get my hair like him. Wear a green jumper, like a proper green jumper. Collars sticking out. Walk about with shorts on, blotch your face, alcoholic, comb my hair back. Walk about with a tennis racket, call everyone young man. Yeah, what a character, what a man, Martin O'Neill said to me he was quite possibly the most charismatic man to have ever been in the game of football. There will never be another Brian Clough ever again. Let us know your thoughts, let us know your comments. Are you from Nottingham? I've never been to Nottingham in my life. The closest I've ever been to is Newark to see my friend Ishan Pickering, boxer. So I will be spending quite a bit of time in Nottingham and Derbyshire. So he got the freedom of Derbyshire. I don't know if he got the freedom of Nottingham, he must have done. But him and his wife are laid to rest in Derbyshire or Nottinghamshire. She was a Middlesbrough girl as well, Barbara Clough. She sadly passed 2013. And on their grave it says something like, walking in the sunshine together. So they obviously settled. Brian kind of settled his... When did he take over? The last half of his life. Well, I'd probably say 40-45% of his life was settled there. But of course, he was a Middlesbrough lad, he was a Borough lad, he was a Teesside lad, a Smoggy, or whatever you want to call it. And he did meet his wife in Ria's Calf. So there's your link. The voice of Middlesbrough and the greatest ever Middlesbrough personality of all time. Brian Clough, Chris Rea. Barbara Clough met Brian Clough having a milkshake in Ria's Calf. Now, a lot of people say to me, oh, you've got it wrong, it was a portal. There was several Rea Calfs. So the one where Barbara met Brian in about 1955, maybe a bit later. So that was on, was where, I think it's a Ramsden's now, but it was near where John Spencer had in off the park. Of course, there was a Ria's Calf on Linthorpe Road. There was one near McDonald's. There was the Porthole Calf. There might have been more. There was several. There's quite a few Rias kicking about as well these days. Yeah, Chris Rea. Would love to meet that man. I would absolutely faint if I ever met him. But he's already had a book out as well. So, yeah, I don't think he would want his book written. But, yeah, Middlesbrough's own Brian Clough will be released by myself, Jamie Boyle. Yeah, forward, I don't know, maybe Martin O'Neill. Maybe going to ask Martin. But, yeah, this book will be... I want to capture a lot about Middlesbrough, and that will be different to how it's been about the other books about him. Okay, guys, don't forget to leave a comment below. Did you know him? I met him. I met him once. And I'd love to sit here and say, he said this to me and he said that to me. But I didn't. I met him when I was 15. I gave him my autograph book. He signed it and I walked off and I just got another autograph. Because in my head, he just was an old bloke who got Forest sacked, relegated 93, won the odd League Cup, Simod Cup, lost to Spurs in the 91 FA Cup, was the only trophy Clough never had. I didn't realise his greatness. I didn't realise I was in the presence of second to Jesus. He was just that level. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind admitting I would have fainted if I'd have met him now. But I didn't appreciate his greatness and who he was. So let us know your comments. Did you meet him? And do you know something? When I'm feeling down, and because I have bad days, depression and that, and what I use as a deterrent to make me feel a lot better is I'll sit on YouTube and I'll just watch Brian Clough. I'm obsessed with him. And yeah, that makes me feel better. And I just think the world should make more of a big deal about Brian Howard Clough.